Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Well, I am absolutely thrilled that you joined me this time. I'll tell you the reason why, because we're going truly international. We're going to jump over some borders, which I've never jumped over before. And the reason we're going to do that is because we're going to Peru. This is going to all the world. Let's have a look at this. Just wanted to show you where the world was. This is a rather fun world. Oh, it's upside down. Here it is. I should have pointed straight at it. We're going to Peru. We're going to look at a Peruvian dish. The world is getting lighter, as you can see, and also somewhat inflated. Peru is a fantastic country for food. It's, as you can imagine, South American people are exciting. I mean, you know, da-dum-bum, and just flashing eyes and hands that are used in conversation. Lots of tomato and rich flavors, allspice, quite a lot of oil and fat that goes into things too. We're going to have a look at that today. I'll tell you, the person who's really been helping me a lot with this is Consuelo. Consuelo is single at the moment, and Consuelo has one of those, she's a great cook. She loves to entertain people, all part of the community. But what she loves most of all is dealing in diesel parts for boats. I know that sounds a bit odd, but any of you attractive, unattached men at the present moment who've got a boat and a diesel thing, I've got a boat, but the whole engine needs to replace, Consuelo, if you're actually interested in that just at the moment. Anyway, let's tell us, you know, we've had a look at you, so now let's have a look now at what we can do with your food preference list. Now, the food preference list came in not unexpectedly. Peruvian dishes, South American you actually put, I thought I'd put Peruvian for you. You like Chinese and Italian food as well, so we can press that in our mind and keep that in our hearts about that, because that's part of the idea we're doing. Casseroles you like. Arroz con pollo is one of the dishes. I hope my pronunciation's okay. Allspice, one of the great spicings of South America. Part of your little trio of cayenne and cilantro. I pulled that off your big list. Chicken you like, bananas, raisins, sweet potato, onions, rice, all of it. I mean, I just know what you're like because of all of this. And of course, we've chatted on the phone. All right, so now, you ready for it? Come through and I'll show you the brilliant dish. And thanks for the help. The big thing that I wanted to get at with Consuelo was, could we use a principle, you know, what we call the springboard idea, of the Maillard reaction? I just wanted to sort of go over that with you because I don't want there to be any sort of confusion about this and what it actually does. So, just a little squirt of oil in the bottom. Don't have to take measurements on this one. This is just a kind of demonstration. I'm going to get a chicken breast and lay that in now. Both of these pans are identical. They're both on at exactly the same heat. And I just want to do a kind of an experiment before your eyes here. Now here is tomato paste. And I just want to drop a tablespoonful of tomato paste into the pan along with the chicken there. All right, good. Now, just going to sort of poke it around, and by the brilliant mechanism of television, compression of time, we call it, we're just going to look at that now and let it brown. So really, you see what's happened is after about 4 or 5 minutes, this has gone down in color. And where it used to be a bright color, you saw it actually darken before your eyes. It has to be quite a hot plate for that to be able to work. It actually goes at about 310 degrees Fahrenheit when the browning starts to happen. Now, browning has happened on the chicken as well as the tomato paste in the pan here. But what happens now, let me just get some of that tomato paste out of the pan for you, just to be able to show you. Now, that tomato paste would work up into a sauce in the end, but you've got two elements now. I'm going to pour the same amount of cold water into each pan. And then take those two pans there like that. Well, first of all, I'll just shake this pan a little bit just to get the residue of the tomato out of the little squares on the bottom there. And stir it all around. Now, the tomato is caramelized, and the chicken flesh has browned. And the result of this is that you get two different kinds of juice out of it. Now, they're both brown, and that shows the browning version, which is called the Maillard reaction. But one is very much browner than the other one, okay? It looks, in fact, incredibly dark and smells just wonderful. It's really almost magic. What happens is that you get two elements together, the chicken and the tomato paste, and together with the caramelization, the Maillard reaction, you get over 100 volatile reactive elements that come out of it. It's like a magical trick with aromas and colors of beautiful things that come out of that. Isn't that wonderful? Good. All right. Let's see now how we get the Maillard reaction onto the menu.
Today on Graham Kerr's Kitchen, Peruvian chicken stew. A deep red spicy chicken stew with carrots, potatoes, and raisins.
Okay, Consuelo, this is your dish. Let's get cracking. Now, chicken on the go, and I would always take chicken, by the way, in the whole piece, because, boy, you can save some money that way. Just one little teaspoonful of oil in there, and 3 skinned legs and thighs. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Just pop those in, want to get those starting to brown. It looks like a sort of Roman emblem somehow, that does, but I don't know what it's supposed to represent, whatever it is, the new Olympic Games, 3-legged race. Well, here is the chicken. Now, I would buy a roaster like this, and then all I need to do is to cut through where the leg joins the breast. If you cut it through like this, and you will see that you actually break open the ball and socket joint there. Just cut around with a knife, and you've got that detached. Now, I just wanted to show that to you because it doesn't take long to be able to get chicken disassembled, and you can save a bundle of money. If you actually go along and work out how much it costs to get us convenient little bits of legs and breasts and things like that, when we could get the whole thing and then just simply take the rest of it if you've got a deep freeze and just slide it into a little plastic bag, exhaust the air around it, date it, and then you've got it for another meal, haven't you? All right, now here, there's a couple of places where you get an accumulation of fat. It's a little bit like the human race, actually. It's right on the end edge of the thighs. And as a matter of this one is actually quite good. It's around here that you would normally get a little piece that needs a bit of trimming attention. But take off the surplus fat, and then you've got that leg and drop that down with the other ones. So now we've got 4, and it feels equal. As with any kind of raw meat, I think, you know, chicken's been given a bit of a bad rap. Have you ever thought about that? Because there's a lot, you know, it's talked about salmonella and everything else like that. Well, you know, any kind of raw meat should be treated in the same way. And when you've actually washed the board and the knife, then hands. And then when you've done that all the way around, a good bacterial soap is a good thing to have in the kitchen. Then you've played your part all the way around. I mean, you want to, if somebody's hypertensive in your family, you want to reduce the salt. If someone's, you know, had heart problems or family with heart problems, you want to reduce the fat. But everybody can get a tummy bug through handling food in unwise ways. So anyway, that's enough of the lecture. Just simply turn these over. The idea is that we pick up some brown. Why? You know, that's the Maillard reaction, so we're getting part of that magical effect of the aroma coming on. And I'm sure you can almost smell it now, can't you? It's coming up from the pan, and it's just wonderful. The kind of multiplication of flavors you get just by browning something off just like that. Okay. Now, when it's done in this way, I want to get 7, just whilst it's browning on there, 7 cloves of garlic. When I saw this in Consuelo's original recipe, I thought, that reminds me of the day that I did the 40 cloves of garlic chicken. That didn't taste too much like garlic. By the way, just before I stamp that out, where are the gizzards? I want to show you those and put those in. These are the gizzards. Now, Consuelo was very precise about this one. You see what a gizzard looks like? They're in that funny little package that you get as a sort of a value-added thing to chicken when you buy one whole. These, let me pop those in and tell you what they are. They've got to be browned as well. They add tremendous flavor. What it is, it's that part before the stomach where the chicken sort of, it's kind of like the esophagus, and it has grit in it. And the grit is used to kind of massage the food to be able to break it down so you can digest it. So you can imagine that it's pretty tough stuff, but it has tremendous flavor, probably because of that. Okay, now 7 cloves of garlic. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, you need to really pound it to get 7 cloves down. This thing works well 1 or 2, but 7 is a bit much. We actually have 7 cloves of garlic and 7 mushrooms. So just to let you know that the garlic is not left on its own in this one. All right. Now, we now take, that's browned, I think, enough by now. We now take the thighs out, drop them on a plate there, but leave the gizzards in. All right? They're going to stay in. And there is a smell coming off that pan. I mean, you know, it's bad to call it a smell. A delectable aroma is rising off it. Couple of medium-sized onions, diced up. We want them to kind of dissolve into the dish. So now they're being stirred around in the juices released from those chickens there. Now, because the skin's been taken off, a lot of that fat has come away from it. And now we can just turn that up just a little bit more. Fine. Good. And then the garlic. Remember the trick always, which is never put garlic in before you put the onions in, and then that saves them from scorching. Scorched garlic has a frightful taste. Just garlic to release the natural oils is just wonderful. Okay, in on top of that then, we're going to place the tomato paste. Now the paste goes in, which is 3 tablespoons full of paste. Now this is something I've learned over the period of years doing this, is if you put in 6 or even 4, it's just too much. It starts to, how can I say, it's a bittersweet taste, where this just gives enough and really makes it live. And you see what's happening here? The garlic and the onions and the paste are all mixing together with the residue from the meat from the bottom of the pan, so that's going well. All right, and with the gizzards there. Now, this is the stage at which we looked at it earlier on, and you keep it going until it goes down and down and down and down, all right? Now, in this case, bear with me, please, and we'll just carry on with this. Otherwise, we have to keep you hanging around and cost fortune on the satellite. I've got about 4 rich red tomatoes there, and I'm just going to stir those in to be able to pick up some color and at the same time give that extra fresh sort of a feel to it. And then here I've got a carrot. Now carrots are simply, in this case, added in an interesting way. You cut them down like this, turn it half, just keep rolling it and turning it, all right? And what you get is a roll-cut carrot. Now, it's just like any other carrot, but it looks a little different, all right? So you can pop those down in there, and that goes in too. Now, if that didn't seem like enough, how about some potatoes? In Peru, potatoes are quite the thing, as well as rice on the side. But here I've got a medium-sized red-skinned potato. Peel those and cut those into quarters, and just drop those in. And they look wonderful. Look at the white now, which is going to pick up with all the rest of those colors, including a half, is that a half or a quarter? Half. A cupful of raisins. Now, the raisins can be plumped up beforehand, but they'll plump up during the cooking time, so you can just pop them in. All right? Good. Nice. Now, that's just about it. What we need to do now is to pop in some stock, and the stock is just 1 cup of chicken stock, obviously, because it's chicken that we're using, and a dash of red wine. Now, that's about 1/3 of a cup. It's about that. Now, that goes in twice. It goes in now, and it goes in at the end, rather like the way that you would use perfume if you were going out for the night. Good. I mean, what a marvelous-looking combination that is. All we need now is to add the final seasoning, which is so much a part of the Peruvian cuisine. Bay leaves, as they are all over the world, a couple of those, and 1/8 of a teaspoonful. And I'm going to be gently about this in case you haven't ever tried this. You might sort of go up to 1/4 teaspoonful, but 1/8, just creep up on it gently and stir that in and dangle your nose over the top of it. It smells like cloves, smells like nutmeg, smells like cinnamon, but it isn't. It's allspice. It's a fabulous thing. I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. Okay, so that's going well. Put a lid on the top of that and cook that. Oh. Before you do that, put the chicken back in. All right. The chicken is going to require half an hour. When I said put the chicken on and put that back, and I thought, well, that'll cook the vegetables, but then what about the chicken? Chicken needs to go in. You'll find there's just enough room there, and we'll be able to put in a little freshly ground pepper over the top, about 1/8 of a teaspoonful, and 1/8 teaspoonful of salt, freshly ground sea salt over the top. And then just let that simmer away. It takes about half an hour, just like that. It must obviously be just like that. I mean, you know, simmering, not boiling its guts out, because that will not do it well, but just simmering is just perfectly, and it looks just like this one here does now. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Now, to finish this off, and that's all that's really required, is to get 7 mushrooms, nice sized mushrooms, and put those over the top, and literally plunge them beneath the surface. They must actually be beneath the surface, or at least wet. And, good. And there, they will start to bubble away and to start to soften. Now, I really don't want them to soften completely. I want them to be meaty, and so as to sort of grab a hold of the teeth as they go in. As I want these defrosted peas, I don't want them to lose their color. So I want those to go in too. I also want to get this a little hotter. And this is being pressed down, and they're perfect all the way around. Good. The smell is fabulous. Now, to finish this off, there is this. Here I've got 1 cayenne pepper, 1 chili there, and about 12 allspice berries. Now, that's what allspice looks like. It's a berry, and it has this remarkably complex flavor to it. Pop those 2 in together, and you know I keep one of these just for this purpose, and just whiz it round. So what is happening now is that there's tiny stainless steel blades are whizzing this in the same way that a pestle and mortar would have ground these spices up before in the past, except this takes very little time. And providing you've got a mesh thing like this, you can just pop that into the top and then just pound it on the side of the palm of your hand, and you get the hot pepper, at least as much as you actually need through there, plus the allspice seasoning, and that's a fresh touch over the top. Then the little bit of a freshening, just as if, you know, literally you're going out for a party and you spray yourself with a little cologne, or, you know, perfume, whatever it is. That's perfume for the palate, and it just smacks it at the end. And it's really nice. So now, just take a tablespoonful of... Hello. Tablespoonful of arrowroot here. Pull it back and stir that in, and because arrowroot is such a magical thing that it is, That is now completely and absolutely done and ready to go. So, you're ready with your guests. It's one of those glorious one-pot dishes. I think you should present it like this, frankly, at the table. Got an attractive-looking skillet, take it to the table, and then dish it straight out. But if you want to do it from the kitchen, just there it is. And just ladle it out. I mean, look at what that looks like. Beautiful, fresh vegetables, a wonderful sauce, seasoned at the last moment, full of that fresh wine flavor. Gosh! Ready? Let's just wipe the plate a little bit like this. I'll show you how it tastes. Come on through. Ah! Gosh, I tell you what, the smell of the allspice coming off the top of that is just fabulous. Here's Consuelo's dish. Now, Consuelo's dish is served with rice because that is the way that it is traditionally provided in Peru. And so this reflects itself in terms of some of the numbers, as you'll see. 743 for the classic in calories is really the demonstration of the rice being there. So without the rice being there, it comes down to 571. Now, the fat was 26. Now, what I did was I simply imagined that Consuelo's dish had the skin left on, which would be the normal way, I believe, Consuelo, that this would be done in Peru. So, with the fat left, with the skin left on, it's 26, and with the skin taken off, it drops to 12. Isn't that amazing? Saturated fat drops then from 7 until 3, and so therefore a 32% calcium fat, which is very good food, actually, drops down to 19, which is just a little better. And so cholesterol was at 420. That was high. And this is actually down to 136 now. Sodium, 269, which is good. And then carbohydrate is at 80. Okay, that's the potatoes in there. I have to admit to you, when I saw this from Consuelo, I thought, oh, bless her heart. This is just what I want to eat. Oh, the spices and the warmth of it. The whole dish being one beautiful, all in one pot. I just love it. To be able to serve that out is just saying, come into my home, I love you. That's what springboarding is all about. All right, now we're going to have another look at one of those extra meals, and let's assume for a moment that what you did is you bought half a dozen chicken, and you did all the cutting up process. You put the breast chicken together. I mean, you just spend a rainy afternoon doing that, just your own butcher, nice and clean, wash everything up in between. And then you've got several legs over. So what you do is you make 2 or 3 times the recipe which I did. Now, before you put the mushrooms in, and before you put the potatoes in, and before you put the carrots in, before any of that, you've just got the onion and the garlic, haven't you? And then you've got the stock and the wine. And so that's the stage at which you go. You go up to that stage only. When you've done that, just in, from some light relief from the way that we've been doing it up until now, you just simply take some of these containers and you just pop a pair of these into the container. They fit very well. But if you can sort of memorize this size of, what do they call this one? I can't read. Oh, 24 ounce. That's a 24 ounce container. That's going to hold a couple of those chicken thighs nicely. So you're doing this, and whilst you're doing it, think to yourself, boy, there's going to be one of those days when we're going to come back and it is really nasty, the weather's been awful, and we want to sit down and have something really comforting, instead of just saying, shall we stop on the way home and get a pizza? And that's kind of, well, I'm sorry if that sounds as if it's the sort of thing you do, forgive me, okay? But you can say, hey, but on the other hand, haven't we got those delicious chicken thighs and legs? 2 packages of those. Yes, I do believe we have. And I know that because I was looking on my list the other day in the deep freeze. You see, it's terribly important to keep a list, all right? So this is a turkey thigh, and this one we will call Peru, okay, Peru. And 2 portions, and the date, 29, all right? And hello. And or whatever, and you've got it there. Now, the thing to do is to, when you put that into the deep freeze, and by the way, the moment that you have cooked this food, don't let it sit around sort of going kind of lukewarm. I mean, just, it's perfect. At that perfect time, put it into the containers. You may like to then take it to the sink like this, get some ice, and submerge these in ice-cold water to chill them rapidly before then you put them into the deep freeze. That'll mean that they'll actually get frozen quicker in there. And then write on the list in your deep freeze what you put in and the date you put it in. Then you've got a menu instead of pizza. God bless. Consuelo, thanks so much for the recipe. And Jeff, thanks for the flowers.